Hello class and welcome back. This is the video for week 5 and I just want to go over a few things to help you out. First of all, you'll see that there's a video for this week and I'm actually recording that right now. Originally I had made these for specific dates, but some of these are not. So if your dates up here are different, don't worry about that. So let's have a look. There's no official reading for this chapter this week because, or for this weekly folder, because this week you're still working on chapter 2, which is critique. And what you'll need to do is make sure that you complete the homework below. Now, one of these is the only thing that's due this week is your peer review. And that's because it takes considerable effort. Basically, you are uploading your full critique paper by the end of Sunday of this particular week on week 5, and that means that you have to complete it fully as if you're going to turn it in, so that when it's critiqued or peer reviewed by another student, they're having a look at your final product to help you out if they see any issues before you turn in your final paper. So I handle the online class the same as an in-person class in this way. The difference is your communication on this will be through a discussion board. And because some students find that a little bit confusing sometimes, I want to go over that. So the first thing that you'll do is go to the critique paper before you do anything, because your peer-reviewed document should be written according to this assignment. If you notice, it's 100 points. The final, not the peer review upload. So what'll happen is you'll upload your rough draft, which is basically your final product, and you're wanting it peer reviewed by another student. And I will be looking those some as well, so that you can make some adjustments for your final paper. So, but the final copy of that, after you've made any corrections from the peer review, is due on March 5th. So just to be clear. Now, here's where you'll find the general directions. This is what I call the writing prompt. It gives you some very important information that you will want to read. This is the rubric. This rubric can also be seen by clicking here. It actually has the doubled scores, because when you look at this critique rubric, it's worth 50 points and each section is times by 2. So you may want to go ahead and have a look at this one if you want to see the complete breakdown. I did include a few helpful things. This is a printed document that Western provides to help you research databases. It's a little more detailed than this database quick tutorial down here. So have a look at it at least. This is a document that may help you some with your citations. It's a little older version, but it's close enough, and I won't count off if you actually use these. And this does not cover all formats. It only covers APA, MLA, and Chicago. If you look down at the bottom, this has the due dates. It says post the full rough draft to the corresponding discussion board, which I'm getting ready to show you, by the end of the day on 2/26, and that's to allow students to actually peer review your paper by the following Thursday, and then you have a few days to change anything that you want to, if you want to, and go ahead and turn that in by the 5th. So if we look up here, let's go ahead and go to the discussion board. You can also get to that through the weekly folder of week 5, but I'm going to handle it this way. So as you can see some of the other discussion boards here, and I'm actually going to open up that peer-reviewed journal upload for you so that you can have access to that later in the semester. However, this critique paper should have a completely new peer-reviewed journal article, and really you'll produce that through doing your RWJ from week 4. So if you get an appropriate article, remember that peer-reviewed journal articles have abstracts usually. They have a volume number. They're in something called a journal. So those are a few cues that you've got it. Most of them have a method section. They usually have scientific data in there. There are a few things that you can look for to make sure that you've got one. So in week 4, you had the critique practice, and now we're on week 5, and everything's sort of connected. If you noticed, the critique practice was to actually prepare you for this paper. So that's the reason that you were asked to do that stuff, to get you in that mode to think about this. So let's have a look here at the critique peer review. There are a few steps in this, and I want to make sure that you understand that this is a really important part of the class, that students who don't participate fully have a 10% deduction on that final paper, which, it's 10 points, and that's quite a bit. So when you see your grade show up as a 0 for a critique peer review or any review in this class, that is a perfect score, because the alternative is to have minus 10%. So keep that in mind as well. And when those grades are entered for that, they do disappear once I grade the final paper, because it's really a placeholder to tell me how many points to not deduct or to deduct. So just a quick explanation of that. So step one, post your critique full rough draft. That means your completed papers if you're going to turn it in. Proofread it. It doesn't have to be completely perfect, but it does have to meet the requirements of the assignment, or it is not considered full participation. That's why this is being posted a little bit early. So post your critique full rough draft completed paper as if you were going to submit it to the final assignment as an attachment to the board, to this discussion board, with your paper's title and the subject line. So you do have to have a title. It could be critique on and the name of your paper that you're, the peer-reviewed journal article that you're critiquing, or you could be creative. That would be fine too. So no later than Sunday, February 26th is when you do that. So that is when your first one is due. And you've got basically a couple weeks to do it in. At least a week and a half as of the time this is posted. So then assignment directions can be found by going to assignments and then to the critique paper. So you do want to look at the critique paper before you do the peer-reviewed assignment here, because obviously you have to follow the assignment directions to have a full draft posted, if that makes sense. So step two, next you reply to a classmate. So you're going to post yours first. This next step, you literally reply to a student who's already posted their rough draft of their full essay, and you say, I'm going to peer review your essay. And that step's really super important, because if you choose someone who's already been reviewed, the second person choosing it, if they haven't announced to that person they're going to do it, I take off for that, because you need to choose someone who has not been reviewed yet. That way, everyone gets a chance. Occasionally, there will be someone who doesn't have their paper reviewed. So be prepared for that as well. And in that case, you're going to have to use your own judgment. You can contact the Writing Center, which you can get that information from the syllabus if you need to, but ultimately, you're responsible for it either way, whether it's peer reviewed or not. Okay, so make sure that you do not take anyone's paper that has already been claimed. You'll have to look. So step three, then you download the attached peer review sheet, and that is actually, if you look down here, it's right here. So you'll see that you can download that sheet. You'll keep all the questions exactly where they are, so I know what you're answering, and you'll type in your answers to that. And they're pretty. They ask you some pretty detailed questions on there. I also have a checklist on there, and you just exit. Put an X beside it. You can read those directions at your leisure. So you've got that. Then you're going to answer all those questions about that student's paper, and then you're going to hit reply as though you're replying in a discussion board, and you're going to attach, not copy, attach that peer-reviewed sheet for them. And there's a separate due date for that as well, which is March 2nd. And that really gives you a few days to look through those comments, see if they have any credence, any weight, and determine if you need to make some changes to that, so that you can have a really well-polished paper. In the past, some students have found this very helpful and some haven't. Try to always get a different partner for each one if you can. That's helpful in terms of someone who has a new eye and can look at your paper in a different way. So just keep that in mind as you go through this process. Then step 5 is to retrieve your own draft and revise it. You'll want to retrieve your own peer review that a student did on that as well, and have a look at that and turn it in to the assignment folder, which is not the discussion board. It is the assignment folder located in assignments, by the end of March 5th. And here's a few little notes. Sometimes if you're on the discussion board page, like right here, the way that I did it, that's the reason I came to this this question this way. Sometimes you can't download the actual sheet from here. Now, most of the time it works, but every once in a while, Blackboard has a breakdown and they decide they're not going to let you see it from there. So all you have to do is go inside the discussion board, click it as though you're going to post. It's not going to hurt anything. And just go in here. And once it loads, on this particular one, no one posted yet. So if that's the case, create thread. But if not, you're going to be able to, if you've if you recall, you can actually see everything once you create a thread. So once you create thread, you're going to be able to see the same view, but it's going to be downloadable from here. And that's only if you have trouble doing that. So I hope that this video has been helpful. Just keep up the good work. You're doing great. The semester will be over before you know it. And thank you for listening.